in the wake of the bombshell and courageous press conference that Epstein survivors held, calling on the Trump administration to engage in transparency and get behind, or just release, but to stop trying to block Republicans from getting behind this legislation to force the release with the protections for victims' information, all that needs to be protected. But anything that is documented that the Trump administration, which is a lot, has access to on Epstein and his crimes and his associations, potential co-conspirators, right? Okay, so you know about that. Well, in the wake of that, you have a hidden camera video that I'm going to play for you of a current DOJ official. His specific title is Acting Deputy Chief of the Office of Enforcement Operations at the DOJ. And he's been at the DOJ for a while. So I don't know if some of what he's saying is his take just as a guy, or based on inside knowledge. We'll look at what the DOJ's response to it was, which was he doesn't have any inside knowledge. But listen to what he says. As someone inside the Trump DOJ right now, he was meeting up with someone on a Hinge dating app, I think it was, but a dating app date. And really it was Project Veritas. They do these hidden camera expose videos, and I guess it's pretty easy to get people talking whenever you just sit across from them at a lunch and they're trying to impress you. But something really shocking came of it, and I say that because this is a DOJ official confirming what we all suspected, but it's also not surprising in a sense because we expected this is what the Trump DOJ would do. So let's listen. Unmuting would help with that. Let's go.
But those files do exist.
Yeah, thousands and thousands of pages of files. They'll redact every Republican or conservative person in those files. Leave all the liberal, Democratic people in those files.
I think they visited that Maxwell person.
Yeah.
And also involved.
Got transferred to a minimum security prison too recently, which is against BOP policy because she's a convicted sex offender. They're offering her something to keep her on shut.
That was the.
So let's go through that piece by piece, and they show a lot more footage, but this gets at the key of it, which is if you imagine what a Republican congressman, Thomas Massie, said, and we have now reporting on this, that the Trump White House has been calling up. Marjorie Taylor Greene confirmed this as well. She's a huge Trump supporter. She said, indeed, they're calling up Republicans and saying it's a hostile act against the White House to support the discharge petition, the forcing of the release by Congress of the Trump administration of Epstein documents. Why would they be so against that? Well, if they just release what they want to, and they're not being forced to release everything by Congress, then they can go, we release, and they keep doing this. They keep doing it, which is they release a tranche and they say, that's it. And it's all the stuff we've seen already. And it's not it. It's not all of what they have. Proved by them then going, okay, well, here's a little more. Same cycle has been played out. Again, even Republicans are calling out the Trump administration for that game that they're playing. But they can keep doing it if they are the ones who have the power to decide. That's why they don't want Congress to get involved and are pressuring Republicans. And what they can also do, and what this guy is saying, again, let me read out, Joseph Schnitt, Acting Deputy Chief, Office of Enforcement Operations at the DOJ, is that if they have the power to release it the way they want to, and they'll probably try this even if they get forced by Congress, then of course, what are they going to do? Trump's name at a different part of the video, he says this Trump's name is going to be redacted all the way. We heard about the reports of FBI agents combing through it and marking his name and making sure that that gets redacted. In any context, however it's mentioned, just he was at this event or more. And then the same thing for Trump's friends and political allies. Republicans, according to Joseph Schnitt, and according to anyone who speculates on this, which is kind of common sense, would have their names protected. People that Trump doesn't like or the Trump administration isn't aligned with won't. Whereas a rational person, people who want justice, and the survivors are calling for this, should have no political lens. If there happened to be information about someone I really liked politically, that would have no impact on my ambition to see full justice and transparency on this. But it is chilling to hear from someone inside the DOJ who knows better than we do about the inner workings, even if he's not assigned to that case, saying the same thing. I should know, Project Veritas is a very unreliable right-wing source, but they did provide the video, so we can watch the video for ourselves and we can confirm that Joseph Schnitt is who he says he is. You can take this down, Jaden, and that's also confirmed by the Department of Justice responding. Mediaite says, pro-MAGA activist publishes clip of Trump DOJ official saying Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to keep her quiet. That was the other part that you heard, which was it was an agreement of sorts to give her this cushy minimum security prison, which is against protocol because of her being a sex offender. Minimum security, the yoga classes or whatever, in exchange for her being quiet. That's what the fear here is, and that's what it stinks of. The DOJ later put out an email purportedly from Schnitt saying he met the woman on a dating app and repeating the claim he knew nothing about Maxwell's transfer personally. So I guess the DOJ's defense is that my profile indicated I did government work, but did not specify for which agency. I never discussed what I do at DOJ. The comments I made were my own personal comments, what I've learned in the media, and not from anything I've done at or learned via work. So he then had to release a statement saying that this was just his own speculation. Okay, so take that for what you will, and we will provide that comment. But then let's go back to Thomas Massie, who himself is a Republican, and to his credit has been leading the charge a lot on this, along with Democrats having this to say.
Congressman Massie, you know, one of the things that I find so striking here is that the Bureau of Prisons had to actively sign a waiver to move Ghislaine Maxwell to a facility that is so low security that by the department's own regulation, she cannot be in. And that happens after she met with Todd Blanche and she said that, you know, Donald Trump was always a perfect gentleman. Like, isn't there a role for some congressional oversight here about how exactly that came about?
Oh, absolutely. This is unprecedented, the kind of treatment that she's been given. I think the best way to clear President Trump's name is to release all the files. I actually don't think he's done anything criminal. I think he may be covering for some rich and powerful people that are friends of his. And in fact, some of those billionaires are running ads against me in Kentucky right now. One of them is in Epstein's black book. So we're getting close to the center of power here. And I think, embarrassment is not a reason to conceal all of this stuff. We've got to get it out in the open, regardless of whose friends might be incriminated.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to appeal to Trump. Trump, we know it's not you. Well, you're not covering up for someone else. It's probably somebody else. But why this much would go into not releasing what they have? Why this much suspicious behavior would take place? It seems a little difficult to believe that at least there wouldn't be embarrassing information about Trump specifically. Oh, like Pam Bondi told Trump, like his attorney general said to him. I mean, I know we've talked about it, but now that I've been away from the news for a while, coming back to this story and thinking about that Ghislaine Maxwell transfer, and there is rage from Trump's supporters, sure, but it kind of subsided. Maybe it'll come back a little bit. Kind of subsided. They moved on a little bit from the fact that the Trump administration made a deal of some sort with her. We don't know what quid pro quo happened necessarily, but what we do know, just factually, is that against their own rules, they moved this child predator to a minimum security prison. As she was saying she needed to be moved from her other prison because of security concerns, then she was moved to somewhere that's way less secure. And then on tape, you have this DOJ, his own personal thoughts, saying, definitely correctly, that the priority here will not be transparency or justice, but the prevention of embarrassment or worse. The exposing of criminality, obviously, being the worst example. A lot more to discuss on this, but I'll save that for other segments. Really stunning stuff. Share your thoughts on it in the comments.